It's time to get cozy, because on this episode, I'm doing this from my bed. Welcome to Reflections 007. What's up, everybody? This is Reflections 007. I'm excited. So there's a few different things going on in this episode that are unique. First off, let me just say the date. It's 12/24/17, which means it's... Oh my god, there's something in my eye. Yeah, alright, I'm gonna continue. It's 12/24/17, which means it's Christmas Eve. I'm not too excited about Christmas. Christmas is not one of my favorite holidays. And honestly, all holidays right now, for me, just feel like kind of a waste, to be honest. So, that's how I feel about it. But I'm happy if you love Christmas and it makes you a better person this time of year. That's great. Though you should consider doing that throughout the entire year, because it's literally just your fucking mindset and this artificial thing you've created in your mind to allow you to be nice for a few times a year. Anyways, so that's just a little bit of a rant on my thoughts about Christmas, but it's 12:30 p.m. right now, or 12:29 p.m. to be exact, and this is the earliest Reflections episode I've ever created, and this is also the bed episode, as you can see, and probably by the title. And yeah, so this is significant because this is almost every single fucking day. I start my day and obviously go to the washroom and that jazz, but when I return, I just go right back into the bed, and pretty much what you see right now is what I'm doing. I'm coding, I'm designing, whatever I like to set aside that requires the most mental energy, whether it's like I require solving a bunch of problems for XYZ, or it just takes a lot out of me to do this task, whatever it is. That would usually be what I set in the blocks in the morning. Guys, I have the most energy and the most mental capacity when I wake up because I'm charged up from this beautiful sleep I have. So that's basically what's up there. And this is also the first episode I've recorded after publishing Reflections. So prior to this, every single episode has not been aired. As I'm recording this, I aired 001 last week, or episode 1 if you will. So that feels good. It was a little bit strange to put out, but I'm glad I took the time to post it, even though it was scary. I really took the time, more like got the courage to do so. Regardless though, like as shitty as it may be, and I listen to it, I'm like cringing, but especially because I know how much better I get. Like I'm much more relaxed on the camera now and allowing myself to just be even more real, but getting through that initial hump was like a little bit tough. So why am I saying this though? The point of what I'm saying is I'm glad I did it. And yeah. So anyways, let's jump into this and get fucking started. Alright, wins and awesomeness for this week. I'm loving so much taking the time to review JavaScript basics. I talked about this a little bit last week, but being able to set aside time and fill in the cracks in the foundation, I think that's fucking massive. And for me, like something as simple as learning different things about arrays that I wasn't thinking about before. And arrays is a programming principle of a way to store multiple pieces of data. So like if you had a list, for example, like a shopping list, you could store it in an array like eggs, bacon, orange juice. That could be like an array of information, for example. But yeah, I'm enjoying doing that a lot and filling in the cracks, because it's so important if I want to be world class at something, or even just really fucking good. Like the foundation needs to be really fucking deep and really, really sturdy and strong. And that cannot be the case if there's a bunch of cracks. And I don't know if I have a bunch of cracks, but I definitely do have cracks that require addressing, and now I'm taking the time to do so and fill in those gaps, and it feels really fucking good. I say? Yeah, I loved posting reflections. That felt really good. Also loved posting my worst workout ever, which was Josh Moxey show 004, and that was, I think, a really fucking good episode. I'm a fan. Probably my favorite so far. Posted the intro to my social, and then like took the time to write some behind the scenes thoughts and like my thinking around certain things. So that was interesting to do. I don't know if people actually like appreciated that like I do, but I will continue to test with that and see what the market wants, or rather, what my market wants. See what they're interested in. I went to Toronto. That was good, and got to hang out with my buddy Alan. And what did we do? We just walked around Toronto and talked. And it's always good to once in a while get out of the house, and I just take a lot in viewpoint wise when I not only am in a new place, but walking around like something as big as Toronto. There's so many different, like, as many times as you can walk through Toronto, there's so much to explore, so much to learn about. You walk down the same street twice, you're going to see different things. So it's like, that is definitely cool to me, because it's like an act of empathy if you're able to expand your viewpoints enough. And I feel like going to places like Toronto, because I'm not used to it, are very good for expanding my viewpoint in terms of that. And yeah, viewpoint expansion equals empathy, basically, in my opinion. Or it makes it easier to deploy empathy. Worked a lot on React. I'm fucking loving React. React and Redux are fucking sweet. Period. End of story. I love it so much. I'm so glad that I've taken the time to learn it, and it's literally everything I've wished for since basically, yeah, like it solves so many challenges. My God, I'm just such a fan. I can't even get over it. Created this text clamp logic and also implemented the logic with rough functionality, and this is on joshmoxey.com. So if you're watching this and this is already up, I am talking about what you'll see on the description of every page. So like you'll see the description, and then you'll see like a show more icon, and it'll be like only showing a certain amount. Then you click it, it'll like wrap all the way down, and that should like scale down in a slide transition. Or was that a slide? Anyways, whatever. It's actually more of a wipe than anything. And I'm just talking about After Effects terms, which has nothing to do with this, but anyways. And then at the bottom there should be like a show less, and then you can reverse it. So that type of thing is what I'm working on right now, and it's really interesting to like, first of all, just like, I'm very intrigued by doing this. And then there's just like, it's only on the right side right now. So it's just chilling on the right, fixed to that corner. But what I want to actually do is have it inline, meaning it sits, say like, if the line ends early, so it's like line, and then short line, I want it to like not just sit in the corner, but also like come over, because it looks really weird when it's just sitting in the corner. On the other side, there's this huge gap in the middle. Hard to explain unless you're seeing what I'm talking about, but I am not sure if I'm going to do that, or I might just completely change the design. But overall, I've been fascinated to create something so simple and just like have little logic here and there to create like this little cool UI feature. Oh, I loved creating the out of storage, cannot record effect in Josh Moxey, the Josh Moxey show, episode 4, aka my worst workout ever. I thought that was really cool. What else can I say? Started working on integrating Swiper into React, and I love Swiper. Swiper's fucking sick. It's that when you're looking at there should be something on joshmoxey.com that at least has this, where it's like you can swipe back and forth, or you can even mouse back and forth, and it'll like move with you. And what's a good example? Kind of like if you think of iOS photos, how you can like swipe back and forth. That's basically what Swiper does. That type of movement and functionality. So yeah, good week overall. And what could have made this week better? Actually, hold up. One more thing. Being kinder to myself for taking, or if I take longer in workouts. Like, I have this tendency to want to beat up myself if I'm taking a long time on something. But these workouts are fucking tough. And if I'm really dying, like, it's okay to take a few breaks. And as long as I'm getting it done, that is the most important thing. Ideally, I get it done in the least amount of time possible while kicking ass. But, like, sometimes it's just not optimal. So, really working more on having more fun and being kinder to myself during this, because it's not serving anyone to just beat up myself, including myself. So, yeah. Overall, good week. And on that note, really kicked ass in the challenge. I did 8 pull-ups and 19 push-ups times 8, plus some extra burnout reps. But yeah, I'm not really sure if I'm doing the absolute correct pull-up and chin-up form, but it's not like horrible, which is good. But yeah, and I think my arms are getting better in terms of strength, which is nice. What would have made this week better and things to do next week? Taking the time to watch React tutorials, even if not actively. This is so important, and I've been slacking this a little bit, but like this is how I learned a lot of my programming stuff, is like in the beginning especially, was listening and watching tutorials. It's so simple, but like, fuck. You're having this in your brain, and especially when it's like review-ish, or like you're focusing on the basics, it's relatively easy because you can stay in your mind, and because you're so used to like seeing exactly what's happening, you can literally listen and code in your mind, and you don't need to like be at a keyboard. It's very interesting because you're basically just doing exactly what they're talking about, but all mentally, and still creating that like neural pathway. So it's pretty cool to watch, and that's how I learned a lot of programming stuff. And obviously, you only really get the full benefit if you're really implementing what you're learning. But that is such a nice in between not doing anything and fully doing it, is like this balance, or this in between step of like understanding the concept and then implementing it on like projects or whatever. But it's really cool doing that. My productivity was not so great this week, especially on things like, number one, content. I found myself like just spending my time on stupid shit, and in retrospect I'm like, what am I doing? Why was I doing that? It's an absolute waste of time. But I guess, I don't know, I just didn't at the time see that was not the best thing. Did I say that correctly? Whatever. Anyways. Also Infinity and lists. Well, actually not so much Infinity. Infinity wasn't that bad. But lists I was not very productive for whatsoever, because I was working on server stuff that I was relatively confused by. And it actually wasn't really server stuff, it's just back-end stuff. But it was not really making much sense to me. My brain was not very... And also, I was doing this stuff at night, so my brain does not work as well at night as it does right now and in the morning and that type of thing. So that's just me being self-aware of what's actually going on. Here's an interesting one. Actually, I'll cover this in lessons. Extracting a video card from episode 4. Like, there's a lot of gold in episode 4, and I haven't taken the time to yet extract one of those clips and render it as a piece of micro content for my socials. And in addition to that, it was what did I say? Take fucking notes, timestamps, etc. when listening to my own podcast or hearing something that's worthy of posting on its own via social or something. Because yeah, I was just like, I was listening to I think I listened to episode 4 like 5 times. You kind of have to when you're doing the certain editing and stuff like that. So, and I did not take any notes or timestamps, and I really should do that. It's part of my like checklist, if you will, for each episode is to do that, because it allows me to much easier make the micro content. It's super fucking important, because social is where the attention is. And yeah, so I was just being lazy with that, and I've got to work on that. Speeding up my post-workout, a little bit slow right now. Could use some work, but it's getting better. It's getting better. Posting more posts on social, even if imperfect as fuck. I'm pretty good at posting imperfect stories, if you follow me now. It's literally just like me working out typically. And I like that. But where was I going with this? I feel like I'm not the most focused right now. That's okay though. Could be worse. So, yeah, I want to just do a better job of posting on social, but sometimes I get too tied to perfection. I also don't want to be too repetitive. I don't want to only post videos. I don't want to only post motivational shit or whatever. Or I don't want to always just document stuff. I just want to do me and whatever that manifests as. And whatever. I find myself getting caught up sometimes and trying to over perfect things, and then that's usually when I don't post, and that is not ideal. I should be posting. So let's move on to lessons. This could be by the way, the fastest episode. I'm not sure, but we'll find out soon. Let's start out with this. I feel I'm so spread. Fuck it, I'm just gonna read or not read. So List and Infinity and JoshMoxey.com and the Josh Moxey Show and like other little things. I feel very spread out right now, and I feel that I'm spread out very thin among a bunch of projects, and it's really not ideal for me right now. I've been mentally struggling with this for I want to say over a month, and yeah, I'm just very not interested in doing so many projects in a day. I was just reading Elon Musk's biography, wherever that is. And first of all, it's amazing. I love it so far. But secondly, I was interested to see how he splits up his days, how he splits up his week, which is he does Solar City on Monday, Solar City on first part of Tuesday, then flies to Silicon Valley and he's in LA for did I say Solar City? I meant SpaceX. SpaceX for Monday, SpaceX for morning Monday or Tuesday, and then he flies to Silicon Valley for Tesla, comes back Thursday, and then I don't know what he does Friday. I didn't say, but that was interesting because the way I have it set up right now is like, let's divide our days up into split among the projects. So yeah, like I'm just gonna combine a bunch of lessons that I wrote down here. And I think it's about momentum for me, which is when I get started on one of these blocks. So for example, I must work on in quotes, but I stick to this hard fucking core. So I have like written down work on lists for 30 minutes or whatever. And ideally I am cranking out a good 30 minutes. And if I don't do a good 30 minutes, there's definitely some regret, and also this like sense of like, if I didn't do 30 minutes, I'm like subconsciously doing extra time because I'm like trying to make up for me not doing a good 30 minutes and trying to get a proper 30 minutes. Even if it doesn't happen, I try to do that mentally. So for me though, it's about momentum in that when I'm on one of these blocks of time, it doesn't happen instantaneously where I'm like, I 100% am aligned with everything that is going on in that project in that moment. So it's like, it takes me a little while to get up to speed on where exactly, or the exact mindset I require in order to make a good progress on that specific project. Because if I'm jumping around from project to project, say like 30 minutes, what if it takes me 10 minutes out of those 30 minutes to actually get up to speed on what the hell I was doing before and fully like get back into that mindset? It could be way less. It could be actually more than that. Like it depends on certain situation, variables, whatever. So, but with that though, like when I'm jumping to from project to project, it's tough to fully get to the place where I'm fully wrapping my head around where I was before, the challenges I want to solve, and like also my solutions in my head. Like they're there, but it just takes a little extra while to fully wrap my head around it. So why I'm saying this is because as I was writing this doc, I realized I'm gonna drop Infinity and lists for the time being temporarily. And it's kind of strange. I love them a lot, but I'm literally just like, I'm not giving them the time and effort they require. Like I'm literally working on it like a minimum of 30 minutes, which ends up being like anywhere from 30 minutes to like an hour and a bit every day. And I just think they require a lot more. They're really big projects themselves. Not really big, but they're bigger. And it's not, I don't think it's the most important thing right now. I think joshmoxey.com is hitting those dominoes for what I'm looking to do right now. And in addition to that, I have all this like 2017 review and the 2018 goal setting in the next like week to do before 2017 ends. So for the time being, I'm going to drop lists. How the fuck do you say, like, it's just, anyways, lists and Infinity are currently being paused, and I feel super strange because these have been little like side things for quite a bit. So that's something that was interesting because it's a real-time lesson that I figured out while I was writing this, and this is like as of an hour ago that I figured this out, or decided this rather. So hopefully I feel a lot more, because I just miss focus. I miss having that one project, and it can be an easy way to burn yourself out having just one project. But another good way to burn yourself out is have a million projects and get nowhere with them. And that's not to say I've gotten nowhere with the projects that I'm working on, but it's so slow, and I don't like that. So I like speed. So what else can I say? Yeah, I'm noticing, this is a little bit more vulnerable to talk about, but I'm noticing there's like this sense of that I require clearing some energy, whatever have you, about rejection. There's just something that is within me right now that I'm gonna have to work on, which is rejection really fucking hurts. Like something as simple as a little dislike, like on YouTube, there was a dislike and it actually hurts. Like, and I'll have to get used to this because I definitely require thicker skin, and it's so weird talking about this on camera, and to know that people are actually gonna like see this is very strange, but thought I'd be real and trying to be more vulnerable with things, so that's why I'm talking about something like this. But yeah, it's definitely like, yeah, it's some sort of subconscious insecurity about whether that's for like this dislike, whether it's like my content, maybe part of me knows that this is not going to be the most exciting thing of all time for I'm not going to say almost all people, but majority of people will not appreciate this content. This is for like a select few, and those select few also have to like know about, document, don't create, understand why I'm doing this, and I'm doing this for like the long term and not for the present. Because if it was just the present, this content would not be very good whatsoever. But because it's mapped in a long term scale, I'm leaving like this trail, if you will, of my history. Like that's pretty fucking sweet. But that's when it turns from like weird me getting on the camera just talking about my life to understanding that this is a long game and this is a net score play and not playing for tomorrow or the next day. So that is strange to talk about. My I don't know if you want to call it fear of rejection. I guess you could say that there's like a fear of rejection that is definitely present and that I'll be working on because it's fucking important in all aspects of life. But I'm getting a lot better, which is good. If I'm not present, it's a huge weakness. And I learned this by locking my keys in my car. Actually, it wasn't my keys, it was my mom's keys in her car, but reality is I still fucking did it. And it was because I was not present in what I was doing. I was floaty, I was all over the place. Floaty meaning the opposite of grounded, the opposite of present. You're just like, you're in your mind, you're not in your body, you're floating, if you will, instead of being grounded in the earth. And when I went to Toronto this week, that happened. So, and Mom is a fucking gem. She like took Taylor's car and drove all the way to Toronto to unlock the car, and like, she's world class. I love you, Mom. That's such a good mom. But so yeah, I think it's incredibly important to be grounded in the earth and be where the fuck you're at, because if you're floating everywhere, it's very easy to like miss things. It's very easy to not see things for how they are. What's the word? Almost like a diluted vision, or I don't know if diluted. I don't think I meant diluted. I think I meant diluted. Or sorry, I'm actually not sure what the fuck word I'm trying to use right now. So this is a little embarrassing, but what I'm trying to say is like, you don't see things clearly. Oh, doing X3 is easier with a momentum. So things like off days, experimenting with, like in my mind, you can easily just see, or at least not you can, I can see that on the days where I have these big long streaks, it's actually easier to keep going rather than if I was to just stop and take a day off. It's actually a lot harder to get back and do it after that break day, which is surprising because you think like, oh yeah, I should take breaks, but breaks aren't always necessarily the answer. You've got to just pay attention to what the fuck is actually right for you. And this is going to be different for every person, but something like P90X for me, I do take a yoga flex day, which is like, I take fucking 13 minutes or whatever it ends up being, and just do like a really quick yoga session. So that's my day off, if you will, I take every week. And I also do ab ripper, but I would not count that as a fucking day off. That is a hard grind of a 25 minutes or whatever. But though, if I was to like change the yoga flex to just straight up no workout, I think it would be a lot tougher, because I like the idea that I work out 7 days a week without breaks. That's cool to think about. And like that momentum is very easy to like keep going with it, because I have this almost game I play in my mind. And when I take a day off, it's just, I don't actually know why, but it's very fucking hard to resume progress in the way that it was before. Even the yoga is like a slight variation of that, but it's definitely better than taking a full day off. Oh, I learned how to create a feed this week. So if I was to do a timeline feed, which I plan on doing with Infinity whenever I resume that project. That's so strange to think about. But there's this thing called in Mongo, and that's what I'm using for my database. And basically what it does is it searches, this is basically what's happening in, I assume for all services like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. All these things with feeds that you follow. You first make a request to the user database, or the user relationship database, and you find out, and you could call that a connection database, find out who follows who, and so you search with the ID of the person that's making the request, and then check for all of the people that they follow, and that's going to return like probably their IDs of the user accounts. And then from that ID, you collect this like array, not like array, you collect an array, and then you plug that into another search, which you can use like an in operator is what it's called. And from that, you take that array you collected of everyone, all the IDs, and then you plug it in to another request, and you put in, and then insert the array, and then search for all of the new posts. So then you could get like all of the posts that you are following and that are new. So like I explained that horribly, but that is how a timeline works, and I will get better at explaining that because that's my first time trying to verbalize what the hell I was talking about there. I learned how to access rendered styles in React, and that was a grind figuring that out. So I had to like play with refs. I think it was just called refs or whatever, but I don't know 100%. And yeah, just used window.getComputedStyle and then plugged in the ref. And yeah. Oh, here's an interesting one to end on. Exposing myself to real-world examples and use cases is the best way for me to come up with innovation. It allows me to pick and choose the best, combine them to make something better, or something of the likes. The more examples I have to grab from mentally, the better of a selection I can get. And then from there, I can create whatever I require in that moment. I think that's applicable for not just like creating products or design, but also just in general, like decisions in life. It's I like going back and reading biographies of great men, and I haven't taken the time to read about great women yet, just because like I'm not a woman, so I'm trying to read about people that I'm more like, and I'll eventually read about some great women, but I haven't taken the time to do that yet. I'm not fucking sexist. Chill out. So, what was I gonna say here though? Before I almost got on a massive sidetrack. With reading these biographies, I am able to access what they did at that moment, and from that I'm like able to see their mentality, why they did what they did, and some tactics as well, but mostly it's about the mindset, because you can take that and apply that to your own situation. And like there's so many times where I'm like, oh fuck, what do I do? But then look at what people in the past did that were not only either maybe like at your point or are great and you want to be great too. There's a bunch of different variables that goes into this, but I think it's incredibly important to have a broad array of, no pun intended, of what you could do based on what has worked in the past with other successes, whether that's companies or people or what have you. Anyways, I'm gonna be let's finish this episode. Yeah. All right. I did a lot of rambling this episode. Could be better. My voice also feels off. I feel my voice feels tired like it did in the first episode, which is strange. That hasn't happened for a while. So, it's been real. My name is Josh Moxey, and thank you for watching and listening.